good day, and welcome to yet another episode of Let's Talk. Today, in this episode, it's a bit, let's say, different for the mere fact that I am here to speak to you about the reason behind me starting my Let's Talk podcast and what I intended to accomplish and how I felt during the process. Firstly, I would like to say thanks to everyone who helped me during this time, who contributed, the persons I was able to interview, the persons who gave me feedback and comment on my work and what I was doing. For me, Let's Talk was more than just a project. It was more than just a classroom assignment. It's something I always wanted to do. For the mere fact that I love interacting. I love hearing people's story. I love sharing it. I love feeding off the information. I love communicating on a whole. So with this being just a thought of having a Let's Talk podcast, initially I didn't really think of it being a podcast. I thought about it just as me creating a platform, let's say on Instagram, where I invite people to come and talk and share their experiences. And during this class, Mr. James informed me about why not creating it as a podcast for this project. And it was an opportunity I really rushed to, because I knew this was a passion that I always had, and actually given the opportunity to create, to bring my thought to reality, I was super excited. However, during my process, you plan one thing in your mind, and then the reality is it doesn't always work out the way you had it planned. For the mere fact that with conducting the interviews, I had to be very considerate to other people's time, with my busy schedule working around it. So for me, it was a bit tedious at times, but I still pushed through and I got it done. I had a number of interviews, where I was able to touch on finances. I was able to touch on whether, let's say, you want to get into the field of journalism. I was able to talk to people concerning events, so I was able to touch on a number of things. And for me, I felt really good doing it, because here I am doing something I love and sharing what I love with a viewing audience. So that in itself brought me a lot of passion, a lot of peace, a peace of mind. Then within the project, we came up to our finals where we had to create this set video here, as well as I had to conduct an interview with one of my peers. Sadly to say, my father passed away during that time. So that in itself took a turn on me, where I was going through the emotions with the death of my father. I had to work on the preparations to put everything together. But in the back of my mind, I kept telling myself, Leah, you have to push through. You have to get it done. You start something, you're going to finish it strong. Although Let's Talk is something that I do not intend to end here. I intend to continue in it and continue posting and continue talking to people and continue telling their side of the story, or allowing them to say it, because I believe people receive information when it's a better relatable. So I went through the emotions. I spoke to Mr. James and he allowed me the time that was needed for me to cope. I am still going through it, and to be quite honest, you can never really be prepared for that. That is something nobody can never prepare it, especially when you lost a parent. Because as days come and days go by, I realize that my father is no longer here. And I can't pick up my phone and call him and talk to him and ask him how he's going and how he's doing. I can't do that anymore because he's not here in his physical form. And every morning I get up and I tell myself, I say, knowing the man he was, I know how he would have wanted me to be. And he would have wanted me to know that he's okay, and life goes on. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. But yeah, like life goes on. And at the same time, I need to be the best me and the strongest me that I could be. So I picked up myself and I said, you know what, Leah, you need to get these interviews done. This is your schoolwork. This is your life. This is your future. This is what you've been working hard for. And I know there and then pause and giving up was not an option. I appreciate Mr. James for giving me the time that I needed. I appreciate Keena for holding on for me. I know someone else reached out to me and I wasn't able to respond to because I was going through whatever, but I am really sorry about that. But, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy it. Like, it brings to you a different peace of mind. It also educates you and prepares you for certain things in life. Meaning, like with Keena's story, being a single mom going through a divorce. I don't think anybody enters. I'm not married, but I don't think the initial idea is to enter a marriage and think about or even want to have the slightest thought that you enter in your marriage to end up in a divorce. You enter this marriage where two becomes one because you want it to work. And hearing Keena's story and hearing what she shared, it had me a bit, thinking that even though things doesn't go the way you plan, there's still life after that. Where you get time to heal and you get time to be your best self for you. And especially when you have a child involved, you realize you are no longer living for yourself, but you're living for you and that little human that you created. And in the midst of it all, you go through your emotions, but you don't lose the true essence of who you are and what you contributed, where you don't doubt yourself and you don't blame yourself, because things happen and this is life and everything is a learning experience. It may not always turn out in the way that we want, but sometimes God has a bigger plan for us, bigger than ourselves, bigger than what we had for ourselves. So within Keena's interview, I was able to relate, take a lot of her information and take it into perspective. You know what I mean? So that in itself was good. When I spoke to the guy concerning, creating a safe hole for yourself, creating an insurance plan for yourself, investing for yourself. We're living through a pandemic right now where there's so much of people who's unemployed, and some, it's strenuous knowing that you don't know where your next dollar coming from. Let's say you have rent, you have mortgage, you have a car loan, but simply by tapping in to your intellectual properties, by tapping into your inner person and saying, what else could I do to make it happen? What else could I do to create another stream of income? What intervention I could come up with? Yes, everybody's selling a shoe. Yes, everybody's selling an outfit. But what I could do to make my product marketable and stand out amongst the rest. How I create a safe haven for myself, maybe a life insurance, maybe a pension plan, maybe a health insurance, a dental insurance. That these are things that we need to take into consideration as nesting for futuristic things to come. So I was able to feed off of that energy, and I was able to feed off of that information, and I was able to share that. Then I was able to speak to Monique concerning events. Events is something that I myself have always been intrigued with. Like, how does someone get all this done in that space of time? What goes into making an event a successful event? Where she was able to come in as a young entrepreneur and share her story. Like, what inspired her? What does she do? How does she work around it? Her work plan. She was able to give us tips to anyone who is thinking about getting into events. I was able to talk to Ken Fuentes, who is a journalist, and also the field that I'm in, where I was able to talk about sports, because they are not female journalists who gravitate much to sports, but I maintain an open mind where I'm willing to try any aspect of it, of the industry. So that in itself, it was an eye-opener, as to how we go about getting interviews, how you build rapport with your interviewees, how you build relationships, that these become people that if something happened within their field, you are able to reach out to them after an interview and allowed to receive feedback from them. So I was able to talk to my friend Nicholas Liverpool, who lives in Barbados, who's currently studying medicine, where he was able to share his experience as being a student in a foreign country. So it was able to give us insights if anyone has a child or anyone would be considering it. It's a leap of faith. Yes, you're going into a new environment where you may not know anybody and you have no friends and you have no family there. But within that, and you're doing it for yourself, and gradually you meet people and you build relationships and you build friendships and you network. And these are things that you can carry on with you for a lifetime. So I would say throughout the interviews that I have had, I have learned a lot myself. It has opened my eyes to things that I was not aware of. It has made me become more open-minded to receiving certain things. It helped me view things from a different perspective, because where you hear that people only having these happy marriages, and then some people get divorced, but they're never really comfortable speaking about it. And for Keena to build that strength within herself to even share, that in itself was an inspiration for me, and I hope it would be an inspiration for everybody who has been viewing my podcast thus far and who has been supporting me thus far. I appreciate it, and I want you all to know, as I said previously, this is not the end of Let's Talk. I have much, much, much more to share on my YouTube platform, so you all can feel free and tuned in and continue to support it. Thank you so much, and you all have a blessed day, and thanks once more for all the support. Let's Talk with Leah Squires. Thank you.